Hello, everyone. My name's Neil. I have a couple chronic illnesses I deal with, but this video is about dealing with it, going through it, and some things like that. Are you having a hard time coping with it? Are you just struggling through day to day and just feeling down and, having a bad day and, feel so lonely? Kind of like nobody really understands, kind of like when you want to go and do things, but you're not able to do them just because your body isn't cooperating. And then you have to explain to whoever that person is, like that friend or what have you, that you just can't do it. Or maybe you go and do it anyway and you wind up suffering in silence because you don't want to say anything. You're not the only one. I think that one of the more common things that I've noticed is that people going through chronic illness feel a lot of these same things. And, but I want to tell you, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to not be yourself sometimes. And it's okay to tell somebody that you're hurting or you're having a bad day and you just aren't able to keep up. That's okay. And if they're a real friend and they're a good friend, they will understand. And it's okay to talk about your illness. There's nothing wrong with that. And you don't have to feel guilty for asking for help or feel guilty for talking about it. It's not your fault you're sick, and we struggle with this, and it is difficult. It is hard to do at times. Even I struggle at times, and I have my bad days, and I have my days I kind of fight off depression, and I have my days where I feel alone in this world, and part of it is I'm completely alone. I don't really have any local friends, just the ones I have online, and it's just me, and that's difficult, and it's really hard to survive living on disability too, and those are some things I deal with too throughout it, and I want to stay active, and I try to stay active the best I can. I'll go to the local Walmart and just walk around and look at things and stuff just to have something to do, just so I'm not stuck at home all the time. And I think that's really the key. It's okay to have those bad days, be down. And it's okay to feel bad for yourself and to mourn the things that you used to be able to do in your old life. Life will knock you down, but you can't control that always. But you can control how you get up. And, one thing I have to say is it's okay to get knocked down, but you got to get up. I've said this in other videos about the difference of being a pond or a river. A pond is just water that sits in one place with no streams exiting out. And, if there's not enough rain to fill it, eventually it dries up. But unlike a river, where a river is always moving the ground, touching new ground, moving dirt, moving sand, it's teeming with life. There's life at both sides of those banks because that water is moving and staying active. And I think we need to be that river. Don't get sucked into being a puddle or a pond and just stuck in one place, and it may be hard. And I'm not going to pretend to know what it's like to be you going through what you're going through. I only know what it's like for me. And I do struggle, and I'm trying. I've had a hard time with crowds and people just due to things I've been through, and I'm working on that. I joined a church, and I found that everybody has been really kind and, super nice. I'm still kind of standoffish a bit, and that's just something I deal with. And, also on the other side of it, it's like I deal with being afraid of having somebody get too close to me and me just being a burden, having to go through sickness and them seeing me do it. And, I've lost friends in the past that way that I've had, they just couldn't handle seeing me sick at my worst points. And, and they just disappear. I've been through that, and it sucks. And sometimes people are going to do that. And you can't change who they are. All you can do is be you and continue moving forward. Because I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I hope it's something great, and it may be. But if I give up, I'll never know. And that's why I push. There are some personal things in my life that I strive for and that I hope for and that I push to live for, that I you know, keep in my mind every day. And I just focus on that sometimes. And I push forward through it the best I can. And, you know, I have a therapist that I talk to that helps me out throughout it. And there's nothing wrong with having a therapist. And it's good to have somebody to talk to, because if you hold everything in, it is going to take you down. Remember this, it breaks or you break. I'm not going to break. I'm going to continue pushing forward. I'm going to continue trying to stay active, doing the best I can. And I've been knocked down a lot. And it's just a matter of getting up, pushing through. And, you know, to the outside, I may look completely normal, but I am not. You know, I tried to do an activity yesterday and it was out in the heat and I wound up, my protein had crashed, you know, because I'm on a feeding tube, and I went to full body sweats. I mean, I soaked my shirt, and somebody gave me a ride and I had to ask them to leave early to go home so I could put a feeding through. And it's just that hot weather had just ran me down so far. And that's a hard thing to have to, you know, interrupt somebody else's life and all that stuff, because you do feel bad for that, you know. But, you know, one thing I've noticed, that you don't always have to feel like a burden. There are people that are going to care in this world and be willing to help you no matter how you feel, and they're not going to look for anything in return. And there are some of those people, and when you find them, hold on to them, because, you know, it's not always easy to do this alone. And it may feel like you're alone and that you're stuck, but you're not alone. There's so many of us out there that are fighting with illness every day. And it doesn't matter what your level is. You know, if it's, oh, well, his thing's worse than my thing, so maybe I'm not important. That's not true at all. The worst thing you're dealing with is the worst thing you've dealt with. And that is you, and that is who you are. Nobody can take that from you. Remember that. Nobody can take that from you. You know, it doesn't matter if your illness is less than what the next person is, and that they should have more attention, and that you shouldn't worry about it because they're acting fine. They don't know you don't know what it's like to be them, and they don't know what it's like to be you. And, you know, I think there's something in that. We all have to struggle and fight in our own ways. And we all have to deal with some of these things in our own ways. And there's no good or real bad way to do it. It's just a matter of not getting knocked down and staying down. You know, if you have a bad day and you just can't get out of bed, hey, it's okay. Have that bad day. That's fine. But don't stay there. You know, don't live your life there. Find something that you can stay active with. I'm trying to look for a part-time job that I can actually do, something that I can try to help my income, because, you know, like my truck broke down on a trip back from the doctor's office. It's a 4-hour drive and I had to fix it, and that set me back. You know, and now, you know, living on disability, that's a hard thing to deal with. But you know, it'll work out. I know it will, and, you know, eventually I'll figure it all out. And, you know, time moves forward. You know, you can't get yesterday back. You just got to keep moving forward with tomorrow and the future. And I think that's what's important. You know, for me, I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder. That's why I've got a feeding tube and I've got all these hernias. And, you know, why I'm in pain and stuff, because my joints all hurt because they're loose and they kind of rattle around. And then I've got the end-stage liver cirrhosis, and, you know, that I deal with, that causes issues. And, you know, but I'm doing the best I can. And I think that's what's important. Doing the best that you can for you. And it may not be the same as the next person. It may be different. But stay healthy, and sometimes you got to put yourself first, and that's okay to do. It really is. Just continue moving forward, continue marching, stay that river, stay the course. Don't let it stop you. Don't, you know, just keep moving forward. This is going to be a little bit of a short video. I just wanted to say those quick things, tell people that there's hope and that you're not alone. You know, whoever needs to hear this, I hope you get to hear this and this helps. I really do. I want to thank everyone for watching. If you like these videos, and, you know, please hit the like and hit the subscribe button. That's a great help to me. Also, there's a GoFundMe connected in my About section. If anybody wants to help me, you're more than welcome to. No, it's not required. That's not why I make these videos. but just someone trying to get by, that's all. So everybody have a great day and stay blessed and stay amazing. And remember, stay that river. You're awesome how you are. Just keep pushing forward.